Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome. My name is Karen and I am with CK Customs PA. And today we're going to have a class on heat pressing basics. It is 2 minutes after the hour, so we will jump in and get started. So, let's see. I've got my agenda. I'm going to have that somewhere. So if you've attended any of our previous classes, this one is going to be a little bit different. Welcome to your first class with us. In the previous classes, they were computer based. I was in front of the computer. I was showing my screen. So for this class, we've stepped away from the computer. I'm over at my heat press, and we're just going to talk about kind of some of the basics of pressing on one of these types of heat press. This is a 15 by 15 flat garment heat press. So if you have any questions as we go along, please go ahead and ask, and then I'll ask at the end if you have any questions then. So today's agenda is going to be, we're going to talk quickly about some common misconceptions. We're going to talk about press settings, dealing with pockets, seams, zippers, buttons, all of those things that get in the way. We'll talk about Teflon sheets, when to use them, a little bit about layering, and then kind of the size of your decal and centering your decal, your design. All right, so let's get started with the common misconceptions. So I see a lot of Facebook posts about, I pressed my garment and it won't stick. What do I do? And the responses I see a lot of are more time, more pressure, more heat. Those aren't always the answer. If you put more heat on, you could burn the vinyl. You could melt the vinyl. Same thing with more time. They burn, they melt. They only have so much in their threshold before you're going to ruin them. Welcome in New Orleans. More pressure can actually cause the adhesive to ooze out. I don't know if you've ever pressed a decal, and after you pull it up, there's kind of like that sheen around the outer edge. That's your adhesive oozing out from under the vinyl. So it's not always more pressure. It's not always more time. It's not always more heat. And then the other one I see a lot of is flip your garment over and press it on the underside. That one applies sometimes. It is brand specific instructions. So if you're flipping it over and pushing on the back side, again, you can have that adhesive oozing out issue. I know those are the instructions for Cricut Easy Presses with Cricut Vinyl. So a brand of machine with a brand of vinyl, that is their instruction, that is fine. But it doesn't mean it's the universal how to get your decal to stick to your garment. There are some other brands that do have some vinyls that tell you to flip it over. But that really brings us into our next topic. What are the proper press settings? And the answer is there isn't a single press setting. It is brand specific. So by my heat presses, I commonly use Caesar, and I have my chart here with all of Caesar's different types of HTV, and it tells me how to press it, at what temperature, for how long, how much pressure, and what a lot of people forget is when to pull off the carrier sheet. Is it a hot peel? Is it a warm peel? Or is it a cold peel? That makes a ton of difference. There's a lot of vinyls that are cold peel, and everybody just goes to peel that carrier sheet off right away, and it doesn't stick to your garment. It may be a cold peel. So the lesson is always go by the manufacturer's instructions. I have my Caesar guide. I have my specialty materials guide who makes Thermoflex. You have to check what they recommend for pressing their vinyls. Alrighty, so dealing with pockets, seams, zippers, buttons, etc. So let's see. We've seen it where something as simple as the collar around a t-shirt, the seamed collar around the t-shirt has prevented the vinyl from getting a good stick on the back. Because where it's placed on the back, there's only a single layer, and then here's a double. So when it's pushing down on your press, it's not the same thickness because there's a seam and a difference there, and it wasn't getting good contact. In those cases, when you have a seam, an edge, you have your seams on your shoulders, some shirts have chest pockets, you need to use a pressing pillow. You want to put the pressing pillow, and you have them in multiple sizes, inside the garment. So I can put this little one inside of the collar to press that back decal. That pillow, that extra padding that it gives it, allows your press to get the proper amount of contact and pressure that you need. So I recommend you get a pack of pressing pillows. There are multiple sizes. Just get the pack that works for you for the stuff that you press. There's even a larger one in here. The other thing you need to be cautious of with those things that get in the way, other than the seams, are zippers, buttons, any extra hardware. So here, for instance, I have a onesie, and there are snaps at the bottom. You need to be aware of your hardware. Is it something that's going to melt? Not just get in the way and needing a pressing pillow, but going to melt. There are lots of plastic zippers, plastic buttons. You may be able to find what their temperature maximum is to see if it's even safe to press over them. Or if not, just make sure they're not on the actual press. You know, it can hang over the side, and then it's totally safe. You can still may want to put a pillow under there for the other seams, but always be aware your zippers and buttons could melt. So check those out. Let's see where we're at. All right, Teflon sheets. So I have Teflon covers on my machine. So I actually do not frequently need to use a Teflon sheet, but let's talk about when we use them. So if you are putting down, this is going to go into layering a bit too, but if you're putting down a single image, just one layer, it has that carrier sheet. You don't need a Teflon sheet over top of it. So just to show you what the Teflon sheets look like, and they also come in various sizes. I always get one bigger than my press, so if these are 15 by 15s, I make sure my sheet is larger than, so I'm not playing the lineup game with one more thing that we've already been playing lineup with. But if it's just a single one, that carrier sheet will act as your protection. And the protection is really from getting the vinyl to the top, stuck to the top of your press. They do make a solution to pull that off, you know, a chemical to clean it if it happens, but really just to prevent it, your carrier sheet will prevent it. But if you're going to layer, so you're going to press this down, you're going to pull your carrier sheet off per the pressing instructions, but then you're going to put something across it. So then I'm going to put the word cats right across this guy here. So when I lay the cats piece, which is smaller than the first press, definitely not as tall, that's going to leave part of that first press exposed. So if this were over top of it, it's going to be exposed. That's where you need to put your Teflon sheet if you do not have Teflon on your press already. So it is to prevent your vinyl from getting on your top platen of your press. If you do happen to get something on your top platen, vinyl-wise, this is easy off. That is what you can use to remove the vinyl stuck to your top platen. So let's talk a little bit about layering. The first thing, again, goes back to your manufacturer's recommendations. Not every vinyl is layerable. So for Caesar, for instance, they have Caesar Easy Weeds. You can layer on top of those. They have other things like glitter that you cannot. But then there's the ones that are kind of in the middle and you're not sure. They came out with Caesar Sparkle. You can layer on Caesar Sparkle. So, again, it goes back to those manufacturer's HTV application instructions of whether or not you can layer on it. I have them for Caesar. I have them for my Thermofix from Specialty Materials. It tells me what can be layered on, what can be a base layer, what can be a top layer, what shouldn't have any layering involved. The other part about layering is for a lot of the vinyls, you can do each layer for kind of what I call a quick stick, just a couple of seconds. So I could put a layer down, and let's say it's supposed to be a 15-second press. I could put my first layer down for about 3 seconds, pull my press up, follow the instructions as to peeling the contact or the carrier sheet off. But once you get that carrier sheet, put your next layer on. Again, 3 seconds. Repeat it so all your layers are on. Pull that last final carrier sheet off, and then do your final press to the recommendation of those parts of those vinyls. So the last press would have no carrier sheet, would need a Teflon sheet if you don't have one, and that's going to be your 15-second press or whatever was recommended by that manufacturer. So that is kind of the quick basic of layering. Sizing and placement. So I use cheat sheets and guides all the time. I have my books. I have a dry erase board on the wall where I write notes. I have my handy ruler, which is hard to see in the camera because it's see-through acrylic. Have what you need available. It's going to make it a lot easier to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. But where I was going with that is for your sizing of your piece. I cut every decal for a shirt per the shirt size it's going on. I have a chart. I know a lot of you have seen these charts floating around Facebook where it says, if it is a small, it should be this size decal, and it goes based off the width. If it is a large, it should be this size. I know large is 9.5, and extra large is 10. So you go based off of the width for the size recommendation. Let the height adjust itself so that the picture doesn't really look distorted. Occasionally you may have to make small tweaks, but that's the general guideline of the sizing. Then when you put your garment on your press, I use my centering ruler. So what's a centering ruler? Let's see if we can get it on camera. There's a 0 in the middle. So I have 0 through 6 and 0 through 6. So you use that 0 at your corner of your platen and see how far out the shirt is hanging off the edge. Take the same 0 and you go the opposite direction. So you're checking, is it coming off 3 inches on both sides from the 0? You'll want to do it on all 4 corners of the lower platen because it could be right up top but have shifted a bit at the bottom. So you'll want to center your garment. I know some people do the fold in half trick. I personally do not. I personally just don't like introducing extra seams, extra folds. So I use my centering ruler. And then when I put my design on, I also go to the most outer edge of the design with the centering ruler. I line the 0 up to it. And then I come and see how far from that 0 to the edge of my platen. And then I do that on the opposite side so that I know it's centered. You can also use your rulers, and I have this one which is 2 inches wide. I have one that is 3 inches wide. I know a lot of the adult size shirts say to put your decal 3 inches from the top collar. So I can put this down. I can put this down at the top collar and know that the design should start on the other side because there's 3 inches. You can do it this way. But measuring tools definitely help keep things straight, aligned, centered. All right, that is my agenda for today. Does anybody have any questions about anything we discussed? About the Teflon sheets, about the layering, the centering, the rulers, the guides, the press settings, those misconceptions? Let me know if you have questions. Great. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. If you could please like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, we would appreciate it. Thanks.